Welcome to What the Fuck Sutter number 10? 10. First of all, I've locked 401, the 90-minute episode. Awesome. Locked 402, awesome, and I'm cutting 403, which is Peter Wells' episode, and Peter did an awesome job. Really, for his first Sons episode was really tremendous. Couldn't be more pleased, and I think you're going to dig it. Here we go. What the fuck, Sutter? Question comes from, my name is Writer's Cramp. It's funny because my last name is actually Cramp. It's from David Cramp. Congrats on the success of SOA. I love all the extras you've been giving us. Why, thank you. One of the best things about SOA is the ability for you to have 44, 54, even 66-minute episodes. It seems that you are one of the very few programs that is given the ability to run over in order to tell your story. Is this something that FX believes in, allows creators to get their story across? Do you face much opposition when you tell FX that you have an episode that will be running 15 minutes over your time slot? My purpose is I can tell that a lot of... all right, let me answer that question. You know, it's interesting. I don't know what FX's policy is with other shows. I'm assuming it's similar to what we do here. Yes, I'm very lucky that the network is very generous in their flexibility in terms of this show. Obviously, I always try to get it down to our target time, which I don't even remember what it is off the top of my head. I think it's 42 and change. And what ends up happening is I have these episodes that, you know, my scripts get tighter and tighter. I think I'm turning in 36 and 37 page, 1 hour drama scripts now. So we're doing everything we can do on a production level, on a script level, to get the scripts tight. But inevitably, it's just a very big show. The motorcycles and the action is a very big part of the show, and that chews up a lot of screen time that ultimately, a lot of times doesn't show up on a page. So my director's cuts are always anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes long, and it's always a bitch to cut. I don't have, like, this is not a show where I have sort of individual standalone C or D stories that are runners that I can just extract. On The Shield we had that a lot of time, and we could remove entire stories to get down to time, and it's really difficult to do on this show. So so it's always very difficult getting it down, and what I usually do is I will do my best to get it down to time, and then if I can't figure out what to remove to get it down to time without what I feel creatively is hurting the story, I will then turn it over to the network and say, look, I'm running X amount of minutes over, can you help me? And at that point they will weigh in and watch it, and most of the time, agree with me, and then we'll figure out compromises. I'll make trims, but they're very generous in terms of allowing me to run over. And I will say that traditionally that always happens in the first couple of episodes where you're introducing a new season, and quite often the last few episodes where you're finishing up a season. I really try to ultimately get them down to target time in the middle of the season, to really allow ad sales to do their job and for them to generate the revenue that pays for the show. As far as the 90-minute episodes, the way we operate with those is I don't really like to do 90-minute episodes, in that I feel like if I can't tell the story in an hour, that somehow I'm not doing my job. So I try to, really, unless it's a finale or in this season the premiere, not to do a 90-minute episode. But sometimes the episodes are so big that it's really the only way to allow the story to be told. And in that case, as long as I give the network enough time where they can then go to ad sales and say, hey, look, we're going to have an extra half hour, and because it's the last because it's at the end of their programming day, it's usually not that big of a hassle to then readjust their programming to allow it to run longer, and it allows ad sales then to actually, you know, sell the additional half hour of time. So it's really just about communicating and bringing them in the loop creatively, and then for us to make the decision to be able to do that. So, and then the second half of your question, David, and again, I apologize for my very fucking long-winded answers. No wonder the show runs long. Purpose. I can tell that a lot of other networks' programming suffers because they feel they have to shove the entire episode into 44 minutes. Can you really see where, I wish it was 44 minutes, can you really see where they are cutting up good or story or, for the 44-minute mark? I honestly don't know. I'm sure other showrunners struggle with getting their episodes down to time when they have big story. I know Matt Weiner's been interviewed a few times and talked about the difficulty in doing that, and his struggles in trying to get some extra time and doing longer episodes and getting people to sponsor entire hours so you don't need commercials. You know, it's really difficult to do that sometimes with these shows, and especially when you only have 13 episodes to tell the story. So I honestly, it's like the shows that I do watch, I really enjoy, and I try not to watch them with such a critical eye that I'm noticing what story is missing or what's dropping out. So I really don't know the answer to that question. But it's a really great question, and again, it gives me an opportunity to acknowledge that the network is incredibly generous, and just a really, you know, Landgraf and his team, they're just not to blow smoke, but you know, they're really good creative collaborators, and you know, I've learned the importance of working with them to really help make this show better. So thanks for the questions. A very exciting behind the cut this week, which we're lovingly and respectfully calling Behind the Sluts, with Ima and Lila, our two sexy, beautiful porn stars and wonderful actresses. So watch that, and we'll check in next week. Thanks.